What would you do if you had $500 million? Ken Griffin, the billionaire CEO of hedge fund Citadel, recently paid $43.2 million for a first-edition copy of the U.S. Constitution. But that's nothing compared to what he did in the fall of 2020 when he spent $500 million. Was it for a mansion? A superyacht? Was it a small country? No, he bought 2 paintings, one by Jackson Pollock and one by Willem de Kooning. It broke records. The previous most expensive transaction was the Qatar Museum's $300 million purchase of a Gauguin piece. After all, those are just pieces of canvas with paint on them. But they're worth $500 million to him. Collectors and museums are not uncommon in paying millions of dollars for a single piece. So, what's the deal with art being so pricey? How do we calculate the worth of art? The prices of the things we buy every day are determined by market forces. How much it costs to make those things and how much we are willing to pay for them. The price of an apple, for example, must be higher than the cost of growing, marketing, and distributing it. Our companies would not do it, but low enough that we are willing to pay. Of course, apples are a commodity. We need to eat, and we'll buy a lot of apples every year. We don't technically need art on our walls because it's a luxury item. As a result, the pricing procedure is a little different. Other luxury goods, on the other hand, are still subject to market forces. The price of a Koenigsegg CCXR Trevita, for example, is determined by the costs of development, production, marketing, and distribution. It also has something to do with the intangible value of owning something so rare. Only 2 were ever made. These goods are aimed at people for whom money is literally no object, but even those people will eventually put their foot down and decide that it isn't worth the price. In other words, luxury goods are priced based on what someone is willing to pay for them rather than what they actually cost to produce or the actual value they add to someone's life. People appear to be willing to pay more for a product that is rarer and more prestigious. However, this does not explain the price of art. Yes, it's rare. Many pieces are one of a kind. If the artist is no longer alive, the piece becomes even more one of a kind because that artist will never create another piece. Because there will be no more Leonardo da Vinci paintings, they are extremely valuable. But how valuable is it? How do we put a monetary value on a work of art? Art doesn't have a clear and present base value. It can't be eaten or used as a shelter. In a pinch, you could theoretically burn some of it to stay warm, but that's not very useful. The price of a work of art is largely determined by what people agree it is worth. Because the market believes Jackson Pollock paintings are particularly valuable, the price of a Jackson Pollock painting skyrockets. That's all. There's no denying that those works are valuable, people adore them, and they're powerful and fascinating. Simultaneously, how do we put a monetary value on it? A painting or sculpture worth $500 million has no intrinsic value other than the fact that someone is willing to pay $500 million for it. What makes them so willing to pay such a high price? There are a few things. For starters, it is an investment. If you spend a few $100s on a piece, it's probably because you adore it and want to look at it. The art market is highly speculative. Usually it's not a good idea to stake your life savings on the hope of discovering the next big artist and selling for a huge profit. Things are different at the $500 million level, however. You've increased the value of that piece by spending so much money on it, and the next person who wants it will be willing to pay more. Griffin paid $300 million for the de Kooning, but it was last purchased for $20.7 million in 1989. That's a sizable profit, and it's a good way for the super rich to invest. Aside from being a good investment, paying a high price for a prestigious work of art provides you with cultural cash. Your name is in the paper as an art collector, not as a hedge fund manager or a real estate mogul. It's simply a fun thing to do. Of course, the vast majority of us will never spend $500 million on anything, let alone art. We will buy artworks that we adore simply because we adore them. Just keep in mind that the value of art is determined by what you are willing to pay for it. Don't be fooled by the price tag. Would you ever buy art for $500 million if you had the money? Let us know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.